This bulletin proudly brought to you in association with Alex Campbell's Menswear.
Tonight on The South Today, Dunedin radio host Owen Rooney has his last on-air shift after many years behind the microphone. A regular sheep muster near Omarama has given car drivers a taste of New Zealand rural life, sharing the road with a mob of sheep. And a Central Otago-based fan of 1970s motor scooters has organised an event to celebrate the historic form of two-wheeled transportation. Kia ora, tēnā koutou katoa, good evening, ko Melissa Barton aho. Dunedin Radio has lost a well-known voice from the airwaves with the retirement of DJ Owen Rooney. Rooney started off in radio 40 years ago and did his last breakfast show this morning.
Now for you and Oamaru, a fine day apart from some cloud this morning, so are we still easy at your place?
Veteran broadcaster Owen Rooney is retiring after his last 6 a.m. to noon shift at Radio Dunedin today. The 65-year-old says he remembers well the very first interview he did at Radio Scenic Land in Greymouth with visiting Malaysian-born pop singer Kamau.
This was in 1980, so I remember him well because I couldn't believe the number of rings he had on his finger when he walked into the studio in Greymouth. So Greymouth, Taumaranui, Whangarei, and then back to Dunedin, and it's been a good 40 years.
Rooney worked at Radio New Zealand full-time until 1996. He left to become a rubbish truck driver, but kept on working part-time for radio as well. 10 years later, he returned to full-time work, this time for Radio Dunedin. For him, the music has always been there just to fill the gaps between the interviews. But the way the music is sourced has changed from the vinyl records of the 1980s to the computer track listings of the 21st century.
The skill of radio is still the same. It doesn't change, the one-to-one communication. The method of transmission, I mean, where's the 45s? You know, it's all computerised now, which can be a little bit daunting if you're not familiar with them and not good at using computers. But you know, the actual art of broadcasting will never change. It's a one-to-one communication.
Rooney said he was going to finish off his show with a Celtic folk song by the singer from Dire Straits.
The last song will be, the last song I can tell you what it's going to be. It's going to be Mark Knopfler, Piper to the End. And that'll start at about 7 minutes to 12 and finish just before the news.
Rooney says he plans to spend time catching up on handyman jobs at his daughter's house and his own home. In Dunedin, The South Today.
The Otago Regional Council says it is on track to hit the recent targets set by the Environment Minister. Councillors this week approved the fourth 6-month update for David Parker, since he told them to get their act together and put fit-for-purpose plans in order to protect the region's freshwater. Much of the work involves setting minimum flows on selected rivers, such as the Codrona River. The council says it is increasing staff numbers to get the required work done, and considerable progress has been made over the past 2 years. Motorists were asked to be patient while sheep were being mustered along the road near Omarama yesterday. The mob of 5,000 sheep were on the road in their annual trek to the shearing sheds.
About 5,000 sheep, as a mix of ewes, hoggets and wethers, were moved from near Lake Waitaki to Otamatata Station yesterday, passing Lake Benmore on the way. Musterers say the traffic on State Highway 1 was mostly courteous and understanding.
It's a bit hairy here and again, but no, all in all, most of the traffic's pretty polite and patient, so we're getting through it slowly.
Otamatata Station has been farmed by the Cameron family for 6 generations, and the mob were on their annual trek to the shearing sheds.
We're shearing them, so we'll draft them up and divide them between wethers and ewe hoggets, and then they'll go through and get shorn and go back out on the hill.
The musterers were hoping to arrive at the shearing sheds about mid-afternoon. Near Omarama, The South Today.
Wanaka Irish bar Fitzpatrick Irish Pub has closed. Publican Julian Fields says the closure was forced by a 50 to 60% decline in sales since COVID-19 emerged last year, and backpackers stopped coming to Wanaka. The bar and live music venue on the corner of Helwick and Brownston Streets was popular with guests staying in neighbouring backpackers' base and the Matterhorn. Both those Brownston Street establishments are no longer operating, and the properties are for sale. Fitzpatrick's bar was also popular with musicians, performers and late shift workers. Fields says the closure has come with an extremely heavy heart. This weekend will see about 70 small engine motorbikes set to take part in an annual scooter rally in Wanaka. The event is organised by a Wanaka local who has just finished a 1.5-year restoration of a Yamaha commuter bike dating back to 1978.
Wanaka scooter enthusiast Paul Van Klink is proud of his almost immaculate Yamaha RD50, which probably first saw action on New Zealand roads more than 40 years ago.
Quite a few of these came into New Zealand in the 70s. As commuter bikes, and so this was one of the first 50cc bikes with a disc brake. Actually, in fact, it's my only bike that I've got with a disc brake because it's the latest model that I've got. All my other bikes are earlier model than this.
Van Klink clearly loves vintage commuter bikes, and it's taken him a while to get this little beauty going because when he bought it on Trade Me a year and a half ago, it was just a pile of parts.
Didn't have a motor, it didn't have a headlight, didn't have indicators, but it had a lot of other bits and pieces, and I put it together pretty much how it came out of the factory in 1978.
Van Klink says the restoration was slowed down because he had to source several missing items from online traders.
In a couple of days I'll be test driving it on the road. All the lights work, indicators work, so I've done as much as I can in here, and now it's ready to hit the Wanaka, streets of Wanaka.
Van Klink also organises the annual Upper Clutha Scooter Hooter Rally, with about 70 people expected to turn up to this year's event in the first week of October, with funds raised going towards the restoration of Bullock Creek. In Wanaka, the South Today.
Still to come on the South Today. Some migrants already in New Zealand may now be eligible for a one-off resident visa. And 20 district health boards release a collective statement about alcohol-related harm in New Zealand. So see you after the break.
Down for the count this weekend at John's Furniture Warehouse and pay it off over 18 months interest-free.
And my mate John.
A poorly maintained heat pump can lose up to 35% of its output. The Mr. Heat Pump Cleaner team are experts. Their specially developed chemical wash is totally biodegradable. Call Mr. Heat Pump Cleaner and get the job done by the professionals.
If you're at risk of developing melanoma skin cancer, you owe it to yourself to have a mole map. Mole map is coming to your area. Phone today to make an appointment. It could save your life.
Your love lifting me higher than I've ever been lifted before. So keep it up, keep on lifting.
Hi, my name's Matt and I'm the Dines Group CEO. Dines is a company that's focused on selling logistics solutions to its customers. We're passionate about selling efficiency and we've been selling efficiency for over 50 years now.
Every reason, every season, we're proud to dress the region. Alex Campbell Menswear, it fits.
Welcome back. Migrants already in New Zealand could now be eligible for a one-off resident visa. The government's new plans means more than 150,000 migrants could have greater certainty in their employment, while borders remain closed. Business and civic leaders say the changes will also mean employers in places such as Queenstown will have more certainty when employing migrant staff. New Zealand usually deals with about 35,000 residency applications per year, with the changes meaning effectively 5 years' worth of applications will be processed. New Zealand's 20 district health boards have put out a collective statement about alcohol-related harm in the country. Professor Jenny Connor is the medical spokesperson for advocacy group Alcohol Action New Zealand and caught up with Daryl Baser via Zoom about the issue.
Kia ora, Jenny. Thanks for joining us today.
Well, thanks for having me on.
What's prompted the nation's 20 DHBs to release a joint statement like this?
There's been an increasing understanding amongst people who work in public health and many other people that alcohol is not only a major cause of harm across the whole country, but it also contributes to the poorer health seen amongst Maori populations. And the other part of it is that alcohol harm's preventable in a systematic way. So it's not about trying to change every individual person's behaviour, but you can change the environment in which we drink. And that will automatically, if you like, change people's behaviour. DHBs deal with car crashes, violence, alcohol poisoning, all those sorts of things on an emergency basis, which completely derails whatever else they're doing. And that's been going on, you know, a long time.
Indeed. There are a couple of recommendations in the report which may turn a few heads, including raising the drinking age back to 20 and increasing excise tax by about 50%. Some might find that a little hard to swallow.
Yeah, so I think it's easier to talk about excise tax. So excise tax is not very high in New Zealand, so we don't tax alcohol very much. And it's the most tested and proven strategy for reducing the amount that people drink is to increase the price of each drink. And the interesting thing about it is that it reduces drinking the most in the heaviest drinkers because they're paying for every drink, and also the youngest drinkers because they don't have so much access to money. So these are the groups who've got the most benefit from drinking less. And so it's a very effective way to not just reduce consumption, but reduce the amount of harm as well. Raising the drinking age to 20 is going to raise some resistance, but it's incredibly effective. And now that we have kids that stay at school until they're 18, it means it takes legal alcohol buying out of high schools. And I think that would be incredibly helpful. I mean, the younger people start drinking, the more damage it does, essentially. And if you drink heavily as an adolescent, your chances of being a problematic drinker later on are much higher.
You're the medical spokesperson for Alcohol Action New Zealand. What are your group's feelings towards the board's joint statement?
We totally support what they're saying. The Law Commission, 10, 12 years ago, used the same body of evidence to come to basically the same conclusions. What's interesting here is that the DHBs have never put out a joint statement on anything like this that advocated for a law change. And it shows how big and important this issue is to them. It also gives it incredible strength, the fact that they've got everybody on board. How you wrangle the chief executives and chairs of 20 district health boards to agree to a single statement it just shows you that understanding has improved.
It does seem reasonably, as you said, quite extraordinary that all 20 DHBs have made this statement. Does it show that successive governments have failed Kiwis with reasonably slack policies?
I think that's a grand understatement. Yes, I think our history is shameful, actually. So at the end of Helen Clark's third term, she commissioned the Law Commission to review all of the alcohol laws, which seemed disjointed and not very coherent, and come up with a plan for what a good alcohol policy law would look like. And of course the government changed, and the findings of that commission were completely ignored, treated with contempt, I think would be probably not too strong. And so the law that we got in 2012, which we still have, doesn't incorporate any of the major recommendations of that review. And it also, really importantly, doesn't include a treaty clause, and the rights of Maori have been completely ignored. And so this statement from the DHBs puts inequities in harm from alcohol and the rights of Maori right up front.
So in a nutshell, what would you say the best way forward would be to reduce alcohol-related harm in this country?
So in a general sense, we need to, the government needs to provide regulations that put some safety fences around alcohol sales and use. So alcohol is inherently a harmful product. It's not just that we are bad at drinking it. It's actually, it has harmful properties. And so like other products with harmful properties, we need to be protected in some ways. So it's the first opportunity actually that there has been, and they are going to do a review. So part of this DHB statement is about trying to contribute to, getting the main ideas across before the review even gets underway.
Professor Jenny Connor from the Alcohol Action New Zealand, many thanks for your time.
You're welcome.
Still to come on the South today, Southern Ports workers get vaccinated in time for the COVID-19 vaccine deadline for all frontline border workers. And we take a look at the weather heading into the weekend. So see you after the break.
Every season, we're proud to dress the region. Alex Campbell Menswear, it fits.
If you're at risk of developing melanoma skin cancer, you owe it to yourself to have a mole map. Mole map is coming to your area. Phone today to make an appointment. It could save your life.
Prices are down for the count this weekend at John's Furniture Warehouse. Save 20% on TV units and buffets, and a whopping 30% off Comet and Alto mattresses, all sizes. Plus tons more in store, and pay it off over 18 months interest-free. Only at John's Furniture Warehouse, Stafford Street, and online at mymatejohn.co.nz.
Furniture from Stafford Street and My Mate John.
A poorly maintained heat pump can lose up to 35% of its output. The Mr. Heat Pump Cleaner team are experts. Their specially developed chemical wash is totally biodegradable. Call Mr. Heat Pump Cleaner and get the job done by the professionals.
MTF Finance can help you turn the key on your next vehicle with a loan made just for you. TCs and lending criteria apply.
Thanks for staying with us. The two southern ports achieved 100% vaccinations of their frontline workers in time for this week's deadline. Both Southport and Port Otago have confirmed all their frontline workers are now vaccinated. Port workers who worked closely with international ships had until Wednesday night to get their first dose of their COVID-19 vaccine. Across the rest of the country, almost 150 port workers are not vaccinated and will not be able to continue working in a border environment until they are. And now recapping tonight's top stories on the South today. Dunedin radio host Owen Rooney has had his last on-air shift after many years behind the microphone. A regular sheep muster near Amarama has given car drivers a taste of New Zealand rural life, sharing the road with a mob of sheep. And a Central Otago-based fan of 1970s motor scooters has organised an event to celebrate the historic form of two-wheeled transportation. And now it's time for a look at the weather.
Tonight's weather proudly brought to you by Mole Map.
Starting with today's southern view, a scaffold crew enjoying a sunny day at the office. Looking at the situation, airflow will slowly tend to the north through the weekend with milder temperatures on the way and mostly dry, fine conditions. Looking at the northwest of the South Island, a wet start to the day in Greymouth with scattered showers and 14 degrees. Westport escapes the showers, but it's also like a cloudy day with 14 degrees. Moving to the northeast, it's a sunny day for all in this region with 17 degrees in Blenheim. Nelson sees a bit of cloud with a high of 18 degrees. Moving down to Canterbury, the sunny weather continues with patches of cloud cover. 15 degrees for Kaikoura, 17 degrees for Christchurch, and Ashburton reaches 16. And looking at what's in store for the southern towns, the Catlins, Balclutha, Lumsden and Gore can all expect moderate southwesterlies and a high of 15 degrees. Travelling westward to the Central Lakes, Wanaka and Queenstown and Alexandra are looking at fine weather with light southwesterlies. Alexandra with a high of 19 degrees, Wanaka reaches 18, Queenstown 17, and Te Anau has a high of 14 degrees with moderate southwesterlies becoming stronger with some cloud. Looking at the northern towns, the fine weather continues here along the coast. Timaru has light winds with a high of 17 degrees, while Oamaru can expect moderate southwesterly, some cloud and a high of 16 degrees. Further inland, Twizel and Amarama, light winds and 18 degrees for you both. In Dunedin, cloudy tonight with a low of 5 degrees. Mostly fine tomorrow and Sunday with sunny periods, cloud and moderate west to southwesterly winds. Tomorrow sees a high of 16 and an overnight low of 5. Sunday looking at a high of 15 and a low of 5 degrees. And in Invercargill, cloudy tonight with an overnight low of 7. Mostly cloudy tomorrow with a few scattered showers possible. Expect moderate southwesterlies throughout the day. Looking at a high of 14 and a low of 8, and milder weather on Sunday with high cloud increasing during the day and moderate northerlies. A high of 16 and a low of 9. And that's all for our news for this Friday and indeed the week. For the latest news from the southern region, head online to odt.co.nz. Remember to like and subscribe to channels 39 and Facebook and YouTube so you can receive notifications of up-to-date content. Nō reira, kia pai te pou, ka kite anō.
This bulletin proudly brought to you in association with Alex Campbell's Menswear.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.